Good evening. This is Barry Farber, and not at all in the mood to broadcast tonight. We got a call late last night informing us that my grandfather, my mother's father, Grandpa Marcus, had passed away in Miami Beach, Florida. He was 86 and in declining health, and he enjoyed a full, happy life with a lot of children and a lot more grandchildren who always wrote and always visited. And that's supposed to help at moments like this, but I'm sure most of you realize it doesn't. My first instinct, of course, was to call Jim McAleer and ask to be excused from the air tonight. But my wife, Ulla, reminded me of the night just a few months ago when Grandpa and I sat up talking about the town where he was born in Russia and how he came to America and how he met Grandma. We'll hear that tape in just a few minutes. The memory is a magnificent muscle. The instant I heard the news last night, my memory started working, overflowing, and it hasn't quit yet. I remember when I was 4 years old, Grandpa Marcus used to take me to the synagogue, and the rabbi would chant the prayers in Hebrew. And I'd tug at Grandpa's tallis and ask, "What's he saying, Grandpa?" And he'd tell me, simultaneous translation from the Hebrew, backed up with footnotes and postscripts and Jewish stories and legends I'll bet the rabbi never heard of. I remember he used to cook his coffee at 7 o'clock every morning over a candle whenever there was a hurricane outside in Miami Beach, and he always used lump sugar. He'd pour the hot coffee into the saucer and drop the sugar into the saucer too, and it'd melt, and he'd drink right from the edge of the saucer. Grandpa was tough about a lot of things in this world, but when Ulla and I introduced him to his great-granddaughter, Bibi, he dissolved just like that lump of sugar in the hot coffee. Pals, during the Depression, you know the old joke, things are bad, honey, let's go live with your parents. And he says, we can't, they're living with their parents. Well, we brought that joke to life during the Depression years. Everybody lived in that one house, 3 stories, and Grandpa was the patriarch. I guess I grew up thinking that Grandpa was president. And to keep that house running, he learned how to wage peace. Grandpa was a real conspirator. He would connive to make peace in the household. For instance, when I was fighting with my cousin Michael, Grandpa would come up to me and say, "Barry, do you know what your cousin Michael just told me?" He said, "I sure love my cousin Barry." I'd say, "Oh, come on, Grandpa." He'd say, No, he really did. And then he'd sneak off to Michael and tell him the same thing about me, you see. The next time Michael and I saw each other, we'd smile and jump into each other's arms, and first thing you know, we'd be walking down to the Brookfield Pharmacy for a lemon snowball. I want to replay that chat with Grandpa Marcus now. I wish I could go back to this moment in real life, but I sure am thankful I can at least go back by way of tape recording. Grandpa, do you remember the first time you ever heard of the United States of America?
I certainly did. When I was quite young, I had a brother living here in Savannah, Georgia. So it was in the year of 1897 that I came over here when it started the Spanish-American War. So I left the country, and my father advised me to go to the United States to my brother, which I had one in Savannah, like I said before, in Savannah, Georgia. And I worked for him. He had a dry goods store. So I worked for him for several years. In 1900 before I say I left the country, in 1901, I was crazy to see my parents. I loved my father and mother. I couldn't stand any longer to stay away from them. So I took a trip back to Russia. When I got back to Russia, naturally my mother insisted upon me I should get married, get a girl and get married. So I seen a lot of girls, and with one girl particularly, I was practically engaged. So when I came over when I came over to visit her, they lived, it was a home house. In the other half, there was another girl lived. When I visited my girl, and I met the other girl, I kind of hated that girl that I got engaged to. I liked the other girl. So I tried to talk her in to go with me to America. She said she can't marry me because that's it's going to break our friend's heart. So I couldn't do nothing with her. So I paid her a fine, about $300, the girl that I was engaged to.
You had to pay a fine?
To help her out because they were poor people. So I give her $300, and because her brother-in-law was a friend to my father, so I didn't want to disappoint him. So it cost me $300, not $300, 300 ruble. That was $150. So they were satisfied, and they let me, they forgive me, and that was the end of it. So I decided right there and then that I can't marry down there. I'll go home. I'll go back to America. After being there about a year and a half. So my mother tells me, she sees that I haven't got nothing to do down there, but there's one girl I want you to see before you leave. I was with that girl to a wedding in another city some time ago, and I liked her very much. So she got acquainted with that girl, so my mother insisted upon me to see that girl. So I thought, before I leave, and if you don't like the girl, you can go back to America. So I asked my mother, how can I see the girl? She says, well, my brother-in-law, the wedding was at my brother-in-law's place, and I can wire to him and find out where, if possible, to meet that girl. So he wires back. Sure enough, she wired to her brother-in-law, and he wires back, the girl is right now in my house. So I took the train, and I went over to that city. It was 2 stations away. When I came over to see that girl, that was her, she was beautiful. She was actually beautiful. So I tell her right away, I like you very much, and let's get married. So we went down to another city where she had a sister. We dressed her up, and we got married. In the meantime, they reported me, somebody, an enemy from my father, reported that I'm here, that I wasn't represented to the military. So if they would have caught me that time, my father and myself, we would have to go in penitentiary. So I went away, took the train and skipped the country and came over back to the United States.
And the girl that you paid $300 to the other girl so you could marry, it turned out to be Grandma Marcus.
That's right. So everything was finished, and I married her, and we stayed about half a year or 3/4 of a year together, and then I had to leave, and I went away.
Your father was the mayor of that little town, Joe Hitchin, wasn't he?
That's the reason why he would have been very soft than I. He would have gone to penitentiary because he's the one that put me away. He put somebody else in my place. You know, he put a cousin of mine in my place.
In the Army?
In the Army.
Could you do that in those days?
Wait a minute. He represented me, my name. And he put him up to that. And he didn't have no teeth in his mouth.
That was against the rules.
Yeah, at that time, it was against the rule that they couldn't take a man like that in the Army. 6 months later, he had to stay for himself. You know, it was a cousin of mine. And the teeth, the bad teeth that they had was no discrimination. They put him in the Army, and he served 3.5 years in the Army.
You advised your father not to be mayor of that town, didn't you? He was the starosta.
Yeah, that's it. He was the starosta.
And you didn't want him to be the starosta. You told him not to be the starosta because everybody blames everything.
I advised him. I didn't like the job that he's got. He should give it up. And sure enough, afterwards he gives it up all right. Somebody else took his place. And everything was settled, and I'm here. And when I came back, my brother here, my oldest brother, went to Berlin to meet my father and mother. So he went over down there and they spent a couple of weeks, and they met. That was the last time that they met each other.
families were much bigger in those days in Eastern Europe than they are here, weren't they?
The family, we had a big family.
I mean, everybody had a big family.
Oh, yes.
10, 12, 18 children.
My mother had 14 children. Yeah.
Now, Grandpa, did any of your friends or brothers or sisters advise you against coming to America?
No one advised me wrong. Everybody was always in favor because the letters that we used to get, the people that was in America, they received letters from America that nobody hated America. Everybody wished that they could go to America.
They never said, Alex, America has no future. Stay here in Eastern Europe.
No,
we're going to be great someday here in Drohichen. Drohichen's going to be a big city, Alex.
No, there never was mentioned anything like that. We knew that a city had to be lost forever. It'll never be great. Because there was nothing to do, there was no progress at all. They lived practically on vegetables. They were very poor. Everybody was very, very poor.
How did you make a living in Drohichen?
My sister had a store, a grocery store, my older sister. And my father used to work for my father. He was the secretary. And that's why we lived very poor. But my father was considered to be already a rich man because he handled already with forests and different things, and he wasn't. And we lived a little better than the ordinary people.
What language did you speak over in the old country, Grandpa?
We had to have 2-3 languages. Yiddish.
That's what you spoke at home.
At home. Hebrew. We had to go to school. And Russian. We had to learn how to speak Russian.
Actually, you were in Russia.
That's right.
Drohichen belonged to Russia.
That's right, sure.
Now, today, I don't think there is any more Drohichen.
Oh, yes, it is.
Really?
Why, sure. There always will be. But, of course, I don't know. I haven't heard from them, and I don't know anybody living anymore from the people that I used to know.
No, because Hitler swarmed over there and exterminated all the Jews.
Hitler killed everybody out. He killed my brother. He killed my brother's children. Everybody was killed. So I don't know what became of that city.
Do you remember the last time you got a letter from your relatives in Drohichen?
About around 1914, about the latest. Last time I got a letter, my father passed away.
Grandpa, how did you make a living over in this country?
I'm telling you, I worked for my brother. I worked for my brother. I used to get $25 a month. With everything free. Food and lodging and everything. And $25 a month.
Do you know how much money you had in your pocket when you landed in America?
Whatever I had, I came with an uncle of mine. He took it away from me, whatever I had.
What do you mean he took it away?
I must have had about $10 or $12, and he took it away from me, and he went to Chicago.
No!
That was the last one. I didn't have a nickel when I came to my brother.
Well, how did you get...
My own uncle took it away from me.
And
that I'll never forget.
And you didn't speak English?
No. Yiddish.
So what did you do? How did you get along? How did you get your next meal?
Well, I'm telling you, I came to Savannah. I had a ticket from New York on the boat, on the steamer to Savannah, to my brother.
Did you like America in the early years? Was it a thrill to be part of a growing country, or was it hard work?
About America? I admired it for the first day when I came over here. My brother bought me a bicycle, and I didn't know the rules and the regulations at that time, so a policeman stopped me right there about 2 blocks away, and he spoke to me. I couldn't understand him, so I kept on showing to him where I belonged. So he took me with the bicycle and went into my brother, and he told him that he just came over, he don't know anything, he can't speak English. What do you want of him? He told me, so he told my brother that he rode in the wrong direction. So he let me off, and it was all right. And that's the way it was. And then my brother had 3 children that were going to school. And in the evening, they used to study, from school. And I used to watch them, listen to them the way they study. And in a short time, I've learned how to spell. In fact, I've learned so quick that they used to ask me how to spell voyage, and they were going to school and I wasn't.
You mean native-born Americans were asking you how to spell?
No, they were not native-born. They were born also in the region, but they came as young children. You see, they came as young children to America.
And you were teaching them?
No, not teaching them. They used to ask me how to spell voyage. I was a good speller. I'll tell you why. Because I was a good speller in Russian, and not similar. You know what I mean? The languages was practically similar one to another. If you know one language, you know the second one easy.
The noises in the background, the voices rather, are from Grandma Marcus, who occasionally may disagree on a point or two, or a date, or some historical fact. And the gurgling is from Grandpa's great-granddaughter, our daughter, Bibi Elizabeth. Grandpa, what do you miss most about America in the old days?
In Savannah, Georgia, they have a street down there, they call it, I forgot the name of it, Oglethorpe Avenue. In the middle it was like grass, you know what I mean, and plants and so forth, and the side was streets. And there the army used to have camps on the street. So I remember Teddy Roosevelt, when he was a colonel, he used to run around with on a horse around the square, and I used to admire how a colonel self goes around. And I heard one time a soldier saying he would like to have a cup of cocoa. So I came to the house and I told my brother, what do you think about it? The soldier asked me for a cup of cocoa if I can get him. I said, my God, you got to kiss the ground of America. If a Russian soldier would express that way, they would put him in penitentiary. But why did a soldier got to demand things like that? I admire the way the American soldiers were living. Wonderful.
And you didn't see many Russian colonels riding around on horseback and doing their own troops like Teddy Roosevelt.
Never seen one. They used to run around like murderers in Russia. No comparison to American people.
Is your faith in America now the same as it was then?
Always will be. I thank God every day that I raise my family right in America. I pray to God that they should always live right here in this United States.
Now, you remember America back in the days when Teddy Roosevelt settled things on horseback and getting off his horse and charging up San Juan Hill.
Yeah.
This is a different era now, Grandpa. This is the nuclear age.
But it's practically the same thing, in a friendly way. Everything is working in a friendly way. You take the biggest officials right here from the state or the city, they act like human. They're not murderers, they're not robbers. In Russia it's different. Everything was, you got to pay graft to get something out of it. You never could get a favor from anybody, you see.
You think America's a friendly country?
Oh, wonderful. God bless America. God bless America.
What are some of the most exciting events that have happened since you've been in America?
The progress that was made in America. When I came over, we didn't have no automobiles. We didn't have nothing. I remember my brother had a horse and buggy, so Sunday we used to go out riding with a horse and buggy. That's about the only excitement. We used to go not far from Savannah, a little river down there. We used to spend a couple of hours. That was the only excitement. There was no excitement whatsoever.
Grandpa, when you were raised in Russia, you grew up, and the only people you ever mingled with were Jewish people. You learned to hate everybody else because everybody else was an enemy of the Jews.
Naturally, they were enemies. We knew that they were enemies because they didn't allow no Jewish boys to go to school at all. Only 1%. 1% was allowed to go to school, a Jewish boy.
Right. Now, when you came to America and saw that you didn't have to stick just to Jewish people, when you saw Chinese and Italians and Irish and Latin American and Negro,
everybody.
What was your impression?
Yeah, I thought to myself, it's the Garden of Eden. It's wonderful, wonderful. Now and then you only see Russians and music, that's all. And they used to hate each other. There was no country in the world to live.
Well, let's see, you came over here before the turn of the century. You've seen the development of the automobile, the telephone, the airplane.
The airplanes, everything is progress. Even today, Every day, every year, something comes out new. Every year. Progress and progress all the time. The automobile gets better. Everything gets better.
Who was president when you came to America?
McKinley. President McKinley.
And you've known every president since then.
I knew, yeah, but of course my mind is fading. I can't remember all their names, but if anybody mentions, I remember them. Their history about it, yeah.
Which one president do you wish could come back and whisper advice to President Kennedy today?
Teddy Roosevelt, that's the only one of them, I think. He was a strong man, powerful man. His word was power.
You'd like to see another Teddy Roosevelt?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Grandpa, are you afraid that America has lost something in its national character that we used to have?
The only thing that I see what's wrong with America today is that hate, the divide against the colored, that disagree and segregation, I don't like that. There are people the same as we are. Why should we disagree? For what? Why couldn't they go together in school together? Why couldn't they live together with everybody? There are people, give them time, they'll become the same as the white, exactly the same, no different. Because I know people in Baltimore already. We got colored lawyers, we got colored doctors. Give them a chance. But if you don't give them a chance, naturally, they'll be wild all the time.
Grandpa, when you first came over here, $1,000 was an unheard of sum of money. Nobody had $1,000.
I haven't heard of anybody having $1,000 at that time, no.
And then all of a sudden, money...
The only one of them that we heard at that time, I think it was Rockefeller and one more.
J.P. Morgan?
J.P. Morgan, millionaire. That's all we heard of it.
But very few people that you knew had $1,000.
Well, they probably had it, but
it was a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah. That time, it certainly said that time $1,000 is equal today to $10,000.
And then all of a sudden, money began to get easier.
Easier, that's it.
Do you think the young people in America today have the proper appreciation of money?
No, they don't. They're living in a luxury, but they have no appreciation for money. They don't know what money means. If they happen to be rich all their life, they'll be lucky. But if they don't get a good break, they'll be just in a bad fix in the middle and in the older age.
Now, I don't know if all your grandchildren ever come to you for advice, but
it hurts me sometimes when they throw away their money. It hurts me because I know what it means. It may be some days that they'll need it. They'll need it. And they're spending away their money foolishly. Absolutely foolishly. You take my little Steve right there. You can give him $25 in a day.
Your grandson Steve?
Yeah. He'll throw it away. Foolish things. Money that mean nothing to them. And not only him. Mark the same thing.
Your grandson Mark?
Same thing. And you'll excuse me for telling you, you are the same big. And the rest of the children are the same big.
What do you mean, Grandpa?
Spending money foolishly sometimes. Don't care.
What are we spending foolishly?
I don't know.
We're down here on vacation. You know, we have 2 weeks a year to enjoy ourselves. What are we spending foolishly?
To me, it looks a lot of things foolishness. That's all. Spending too much money. That's all.
Grandpa, do you ever worry about America spending money foolishly?
No, why should I? I'm too late to worry about it. My life is getting too short now that I should worry about it. Let the younger people worry about it. I don't have to worry anymore.
No, but because you've been through everything you have been through over here, your ideas would be important.
The only thing I'm worrying about it in case if I do have to go to the hospital or get sick, I'll have to ask my children to help me out. They took away everything that I had already last year and the year before last. They took away thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It's a disgrace, actually, to go in a hospital where you got to pay $45 a day for laying in bed. $45 a day, besides medicals, besides doctors, besides medicine, besides nurses. Who in the world have ever heard of it? How can a human being in an ordinary circumstance going in down there. Like I told last year in the hospital when I was down there. When I went out, I told him, I says, you got the most wonderful unit, you got a new one, one of the finest you ever seen in your life.
On Miami Beach.
Yeah. I told him, I said, you've got the most wonderful, prettiest place in the world. But it's only good for two people, for the millionaire and for the beggar. The millionaire can pay whatever you ask, and the beggar, you got to treat him free. But for ordinary people like we are, we have no business to come in here because you make a beggar out of me. Who in the world ever heard of anything like that? For an aspirin, 50 cents. For a suppositor, $1. You buy 50 of them for 47 cents in a drugstore. You charge $1. I said, who in the world ever heard of anything like that, for God's sake?
Grandpa, do you know many people of your age whose children are wealthy and could be taking care of them but don't take care of them?
Well, that I never went into it to look into it. The majority that I noticed it, that they're trying to take care of the parents as much as they possibly can. I don't know if any of them that refuses the help of parents.
Do you think that the government ought to step in with a good medical program for elderly people?
Absolutely, absolutely. If not, I'm telling you, the elderly people will just have to commit suicide because they can't help it. There's no way in the world for them to get help. The hospital is impossible, too expensive. The medicine is too expensive. The doctor is too expensive.
Do you find that doctors take advantage of people?
Every one of them are the same thing. They became absolutely bloodsuckers because they all have the same knowledge. Now you take, for instance, if I come to the doctor and I tell him what I want, my feet is swelling. So he gives me an injection. He charges me $5. You got to give an injection, charge you $2 extra, $8. For what? You're paying him for the visit $5. Why should he charge you $2 extra for? And then you got to go to the drugstore. I think, here, I'll give you an idea. 98 cents. 98 cents for a little mixed up thing.
A little skin powder.
Skin powder. That if you would get a prescription, which costs you $2.75. Now, for instance, there's a little thing happened some time ago. They advertised over the television sleeping pills. He said it was very good. So I asked one time a doctor. He said, no, that's no good. So one fella here, coming in conversation with sleeping pills, he says, every doctor tells you it's no good. Do you know the reason why? Because it deprives him of a $5 visit. If that wouldn't be sold in an open counter, that he would subscribe for it, he would tell you it's good. But you could go in the drugstore and buy him for a quarter of the price what you pay to a prescription. That's why it tells you it's no good.
So you'd like to see a government program for the aged?
For the aged.
Medical program?
Medical program, absolutely. It's not, it's just too bad, that's all I can tell you.
Grandpa, do you think that we ought to be spending the money we're spending to get to the moon?
No, sir. They'll never get down there. They'll never get down there. And even if they'll ever get down there, they'll never come down.
Well, Grandpa, isn't that what people were saying over in the old country when Columbus started looking for America?
That's so different. That's on the ground. On the ground. But not in the sky. Hashemayim, Shemayim, la Hashem. The Himmel is gemacht worden for God. The Oretz Nosan Livnei Odom. The earth is made for humans. Don't go down there. You'll never get there. You'll never get there. Mark my word, I may not be here, but you'll hear it. You'll be here. That is, Russia and America, they'll try to get to the moon. And if they reach over to the moon, they'll never come down.
What would you most like to see in your remaining years, Grandpa?
What I would like to see, they shouldn't have no wars. They should be friendly. The world should be friendly to live in peace, help one country and another country, and help one another. That's all.
That was my grandfather, Alexander Marcus, who passed away
in Miami Beach at the age of 86. Unlike Sir Winston Churchill, Grandpa wasn't a great military leader. He was a draft dodger from the army of the Tsar. But like Sir Winston, Grandpa wasn't ashamed to speak out strongly about the country he loved. May God rest his happy and productive and successful soul in peace.